When I look back on the Pokemon of Generation 3, I'm always surprised at how many are genuinely terrible. Sure, you've got the greats like Swampert, Breloom, Gardevoir, and so on, but many Pokemon evolve way too late, like Flygon, Exploud, and Aggron, and many more simply suffer from bad stats and learn sets. Now, I'm actually making my own ROM hack to fix the many problems of Pokemon Emerald, and in this video, I'm going to be highlighting all the specific changes we've made to the Pokemon themselves. We're also running a giveaway for 10 physical copies of the ROM hack, and to enter, just subscribe and watch to the end. Now, considering that it's a grass starter in a world full of water, I always found Trico's performance to be a little underwhelming. While grass type up to this point in Pokemon had been designed to focus on status moves, the Trico line is noteworthy for actually being the first Pokemon to ever attempt to be a grass sweeper. Unfortunately, its early game suffers from its only stab move being Absorb, while it never gets a strong enough move to really pack the power that it wants to stand out in the late game. Our goal with the Trico line was simply to make it feel like a frail but powerful attacker. Trico's early Absorb is now 30 power, and we've also replaced Pursuit with level 16 Astonish to coincide with Ghost moves becoming special. At level 16, it also evolves into Grovyle, and this is where it will now learn Razor Leaf and really start to feel notably improved. See, at level 16, the other two starters get a stab move of their new type, whereas before, Grovyle got Fury Cutter. So instead, now it actually gets a strong stab move. Now at 23, it gets Growth, at 29, it sees Slash, and now at 36, when it evolves into Sceptile, is when it will get its signature move, Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade has been buffed to have a 50% chance to activate a Focus Energy effect on top of its already high crit ratio. This makes Leaf Blade a coin flip to crit, while its other moves will have a 1 in 4 chance. And while giving Sceptile Dragon type just felt too far removed from the scope of a legacy game, we've given it Dragon Claw at 48 as a nod to the idea. Lastly, Sceptile actually has 5 base stat less than Swampert, so we've given Sceptile an extra 5 points in special attack to make it hit just a little bit harder. Now, as for the Mudkip line, if you didn't know, you should know, it is the best Pokemon in the game, so it didn't really need a lot. And more than trying to buff it, the biggest thing we wanted to do is add a lot more trainers that use grass types and grass moves to actually threaten this thing. Despite this, still, this line kind of suffered from a weird learn set. So Marsh Stomp is going to get Bubble Beam at 21 as a mid-power water move, and Swampert's Muddy Water will now come at level 36 with a 50% chance to lower the opponent's speed. Lastly, Earthquake is going to come just a little bit earlier to incentivize the player to not use its TM on Swampert. Now, just like our next Pokemon Torchic, your gaming experience might be open to improvement, and today's sponsor is none other than the legendary Epic Games Store. The Epic Games Store is a marketplace of video games that you can download from the top description link for free. The marketplace has a 5% back rewards on purchases and even has many free games such as Genshin Impact, a seriously great RPG with cross-platform capabilities on PC. Genshin just dropped patch 5.0, which comes with new quests, free pulls, and a choice of a free 5-star character. The new 5-star Molani is a Surfer Hydro character, and also available is the new Saurian Hunter, Kanich. The game has a new quest update, the Archon Quest of Natlin, which you can start after completing Liwei's Archon Quest. And if you download Genshin Impact free on the Epic Games Store and use code EPICGENSHIN2024, you'll not only get 5% back on purchases, but you'll also get all of this on screen. We got Heroes Wits, we got Mora, we got Puff Puffs, basically just a whole bunch of stuff that's gonna help you get started and start crushing the game. So you can download that in the top link, use code EPICGENSHIN2024, and of course, huge thank you to the big dogs over at Epic Games for this one. Now, Torchic's early game was already in a great spot, and the only notable change was Peck at level 6. But one big problem that this line ran into was that it had to run Ember from Torchic all the way to evolving into Blaziken. To make up for this, it now gets Fire Punch at level 23 to tie as best as possible into the fighting theme, and the now 70 power Rolling Kick comes at 26, and Mach Punch is actually coming at 32 to help with Blaziken's speed. Also, now with 100% accuracy, Blaziken's Blaze Kick has both a 20% chance to burn the target and make them flinch. Sky Uppercut comes at 42, Bounce is 46, and a 120 power high jump kick is learned at level 59. Blaziken also had 5 less points of stat than Swampert, and we've given that 5 into its speed, bringing it up to 85. Now, what if I told you that Zigzagoon is one of the best designed Pokemon in Emerald? Now, this is a line that is very much intended to be a lower sort of C-tier type Pokemon. It's a normal type that gets a strong early stab move. It's got a bit of utility in pickup and some support moves, but in learning Belly Drum at 47, this thing actually has a niche that allows it to compete in the Elite Four. And I absolutely love this design of a low-tier Pokemon still having a niche in the late game if you choose to use it. So the only major change we're giving Linoone is plus 10 attack. But the reason I highlight this is I think it's a great precedent that has been set by Game Freak for us to take inspiration when fixing other Pokemon, like Poochyena. Poochyena is going to take inspiration from the Goon Squad, with it now getting Super Fang at level 50. It's also getting Crunch at 34, and with Dark now physical, this line is actually going to be able to output some solid damage. Mightyena is also getting 5 HP, 5 attack, 5 defense, and 10 speed. Beautifly is going to lean into its Grass Absorber role, now getting Absorb at level 10, Mega Drain at 24, and Giga Drain at 38. Dustox is leaning into its Psychic move repertoire, getting Confusion at 10, Psybeam at 24, and Psychic at 48, just in time for the Norman fight. Both are also getting an additional 30 base stat. Now, quick question. Did you know that of the Lotad line, Lombre is the only one which naturally learns a water move, which doesn't even come until level 49? Like, some learn sets in Gen 3 are genuinely as bad as what we saw in Generation 1. The Lotad line is starting with Bubble, 19 Bubble Beam, 26 Mega Drain on Lombre, but 26 Petal Dance on Ludicolo, and both seeing Giga Drain at 42. Most importantly, we've added a Water Stone on the north shore of the top pond in Petalburg, and this ensures you can evolve your Lombre after beating Norman and acquiring Surf, rather than after the Tate and Liza fight. I'm sorry, I'm still not over that. As for the C-Dot line, they simply never learn a grass move. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that Gen 3 is perfect when looking at this learn set. Now, to fix this horrible tragedy, C-Dot will see Bullet Seed at level 8, Leech Seed at 14, Knockoff and Fake Out at 18, Razor Leaf at 21, Feint Attack at 30, and Shiftry will now get Leaf Blade at 46. The Leaf Stone is located before Winona, so now these two Pokemon, which have always felt tied to each other, will evolve at a similar place in the game. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I personally have always viewed Shroomish as sort of the secret third thing of this duo. And obviously Breloom is great, so it's not seeing a ton of changes. Now, Brick Break is going to come at 33, and because Sky Uppercut has been buffed, it's coming a little bit later now at 43. Now, as for Spore, Shroomish will be getting it a touch earlier at 46. Now, the Ninjask line had a pretty cool role before with this whole Baton Pass Speed Boost Swords Dance thing. Really, all we've done is just give Ninjask some actual good moves. And then to balance for that, we've pushed Baton Pass back to 50. Shedinja is also getting better moves, and we're giving it 45 special attack so it can actually do something with Shadow Ball. Now, the Tailo line really needs no help, but we've given it the modified version of Sky Attack just because it's cool. Pelipper has been given 10 HP and 10 special attack, while its learn set has only been slightly altered. Now, with Intimidate as an ability, Masquerade has always had potential. Unfortunately, its shallow move pool and low stats always held it back. It has now seen a great addition of bug moves along with 20 special attack and speed. I actually ran it in my very first live playthrough up on this channel, and I do just have to personally add in here, I think this Pokemon feels amazing now. With Flying Stab and Bug, plus an early Bubble Beam and like Ice Beam later, this thing is just useful in like every single fight in the game. Now, Ralt and Kirlia are noteworthy for being terrible until they evolve into Gardevoir. Ralt is going to see its evolution drop from 20 down to 18. Kirlia is still going to suck, but it's having its special stats raised by 10 to help keep it up with the rest of the Pokemon around it. Now, Abra has been pushed back, no longer available on Route 116, and now only available in Granite Cave. Like previous Legacy games, it will evolve at level 42 with no trade. Personally, I think that Abra has had its time to shine in the last two games, and so we've actually replaced Abra on the early Route 116 with Spoink. Turns out Spoink is actually a pretty good Pokemon and was just bad because it had such late availability competing with Gardevoir and Alakazam. I also ran this in my live stream, and again, I just have to say it felt amazing. Spoink also now evolves one level lower at 31. Now, the Whismur line has seen a learn set fix along with Loudred getting 5 stats. For Exploud to remain a level 40 Evo, we realized it needed to get pretty decent. So it's been given 10 HP, 10 attack, and 5 in both defense. Plus, on top of that, Hyper Voice now has 100 base power. Now, Skitty and Delcatty are arguably the saddest Pokemon in this entire game. These Pokemon do not have the identity to try to put them and push them up into the S tier. Our goal was to push them into a niche support role. Delcatty is seeing a flat +5 to all stats with a further 25 added to its special attack and further 15 to speed. Now, Geodude has actually been added as an earlier encounter to Rust Turf Tunnel. Graveler evolves no trade at level 38. Also, we've still got a lot more videos coming on other changes to Emerald Legacy, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. Honestly, just don't even subscribe for that. Subscribe because it makes me happy when I see the number go up. That is the real reason I want you to do that. Now, Gyarados is another Pokemon that has really had its time to shine. We've given it Bounce. We're going to let it continue to learn the HM Fly, but to balance this, however, with its newly added Intimidate ability, we're pushing Dragon Dance back a ton. Now, Goldeen will always be Goldeen, but we've given it an improved learn set. Wow. We found that Makuhita was often an underperformer, so we gave it 10 HP, defense, and special defense to just help it along its way. We've also given the line Brick Break at 34 and Body Slam at 40, and in case you haven't caught on, we've done our best to normalize learn sets wherever it felt appropriate. Now, Aron is one Pokemon that seems to be vastly overstated by players. It is a shallow learn set, evolves super late, and its first 3 available gyms see a terrible matchup. Similar to Rhydon, this thing had no rock moves, so we've given it some rock moves, and some better moves all over. We've also made it so that Lairon evolves at level 28 instead of 32. Nosepass was a tricky Pokemon to balance. You can now catch it on your first encounter through Granite Cave. It gets 25 special attack, 15 special defense, and 15 HP, which also helps it for the Rock Sand fight. On top of its Thunder Wave, we've given it Spark and Smelling Salts, which we're hoping is going to be an interesting combo. Sableye is another Pokemon that was tough to balance. The tricky thing with single stage evolutions is that if you buff them too strong, they will utterly dominate like the next section that you have them for the game, but if you don't buff them enough, they then just completely fall off by the end of the game. We've given its learn set a solid makeover, ensuring it gets the power it needs to stay strong through the end of the game. It also gets a flat 5 to every base stat, along with an additional 15 to HP and 5 to speed. And of course, you can't talk about Sableye without talking about Mawile too. This thing has Generation 3 Steel type with Intimidate. It should be good, and it's not. We've given Mawile 10 HP, 20 attack, and 20 defense to take it up to 440 base. We also added it to Meteor Falls. It was another member of my team, and it absolutely crushed. Now, with the pure power ability to double its attack stat, the Meditite line has a ton of potential, and we've just lowered its evolution to 33. I always found it weird that Manectric didn't get Thunderbolt, so now it does. It also now learns Crunch as well as a TM Shadow Ball to replace for Crunch now being a physical move. Similarly, Magneton and Electrode get Thunderbolt as well. The big change to electric types, however, is going to Minun and Plusle. Minun is going to lead into its tanky archetype, gaining 10 HP, 30 defense, and 10 special defense while losing 10 speed and special attack. Plusle gains 10 attack, 20 special attack, and 10 speed while losing 10 special defense. On top of an improved learn set, they now have access to the egg move Magical Leaf for ground type coverage and Volt Tackle at level 50. Another duo that needs to be discussed are Volbeat and Illumise. Volbeat gets 5 HP, 15 attack, and 40 special attack while losing 10 special defense, while Illumise gets 15 HP, 26 attack, 20 defense, 15 special defense, and loses 26 special attack. These Pokemon probably still won't be amazing by the end of the game, but picking up a Pokemon with 450 base stat before Watson is arguably pretty solid. Okay, take a second. This right here is Roselia's base learn set. This is an example that Game Freak had the potential at the time to make great learn sets, and they just only did it for some Pokemon. Unfortunately, at the time, Roselia still just didn't have the stats to be a great Pokemon. So what we've done is similar to what we did in Crystal Legacy for some of the Pokemon that also got future generational evolutions. Roselia has 100 special attack, Roserade has 125, so we buffed it to 115 for Emerald Legacy. We also gave it 15 special defense, 10 speed, and 5 in every other stat. This is a pretty large buff, and it makes it very good for Watson. This is, however, then balanced with its following fights being Flannery, Winona, Titaniza, like it still struggles. Now moving on, Swalot has always been sneakily pretty good, so we just gave it an extra 15 HP. Sharpedo was given 10 speed. Next up, we're talking about Flygon, which is one of my personal favorite Gen 3 Pokemon. As a kid, I didn't realize that Flygon sucks. As an adult, I can now look at this Pokemon and say, wow, what a pointless design. The first 2 stages of this thing are terrible. It has a level 45 evolution to turn into something not even really as good as a starter, and unfortunately, this has to compete with Salamence, which it just simply does not. So to start, we've given Vibrava a flat 10 to every stat, taking its base stat from 340 up to 400. Trapinch now evolves at 32, and Vibrava will now evolve at 42. The line is also going to get Signal Beam at 40, Dragon Claw at 45, and Earthquake at 48. And lastly, to take advantage of its great special coverage, Flygon is going to get 10 in special attack. This is arguably the biggest buff any Pokemon is getting in the entire game, and it is all Salamence's fault. Speaking of dragon types, have you ever tried using a Swablu for a Gen 3 playthrough? If you have, I'm very sorry. To make up for only previously knowing Peck, Swablu has had Air Cutter added to its learn sets, while Altaria has seen its learn set moved around for better balance, most notably Altaria now getting buffed Sky Attack. Now moving on, Cacturn is getting 10 HP, 20 defense, while losing 10 speed and special defense. Seviper trades 20 special defense for 20 speed and gets a pretty solid learn set buff. Now when talking about Zangoose, I typed in the script that this thing learned Swords Dance at level 25, and I said, wow, that is so ridiculously powered, only to then go back and have to make the fix, realizing that Zangoose actually learned Swords Dance at level 10. That is insane. So we pushed that back, we made the rest of its learn set good. Zangoose feels great. We also put it back in the game, which is a pretty big buff in and of itself. Now Kecleon stays a gimmick Pokemon, but has been given 15 HP and 10 special attack, plus a learn set fix. Lunatone and Solrock both see a slight stat rework and boost, while their learn sets see a pretty cool sort of mirrored, balanced reflection of each other. Crawdaunt gets 10 special attack, while it and Whiscash both see slight learn set adjustments. The same can be said for Fossils, Cradily, and Armaldo, which will now be revived and given to the player at level 30. And we wanted to make it so players had another way to get Milotic. So what we've done is, rather than changing the Feebas fishing method, which is like very iconically rare, we've made it so that you are now awarded a Milotic after completing the Master Rank Beauty Contest. Now next, with Ghost type becoming special, we've given Banette 10 speed and 32 special attack, while just pulling back its physical attack by 12 so that it can keep its mixed attacker role. Dusclops is seeing 25 more HP, 10 less attack, and 15 more special attack, and we hope that this can allow it to really come into its own as the tank of this duo. Now, I don't need to watch an entire imported cheese video to know that Tropius is bad, because I already know that Tropius is bad. We've given it 21 HP, taking its total up to 120, along with 13 special attack. Most importantly, however, we have given it the Thick Fat ability. This will reduce its 4 times weakness to ice down to 2 times while completely neutralizing its weakness to fire. It now feels appropriately tanky and is capable of doing something. Kaimecho sees 10 in HP and defenses, while be giving a learn set to help with it in a double support role. And with Dark now becoming a physical move, Absol is in a much better spot to take advantage of its monstrous attack stats. Ninetales is seeing some slight stat rework, along with an improved learn set, similar to previous Legacy games. There's also a ton of learn set changes for previous Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon that we fixed and basically just imported into this game. So, really quickly, we have Raichu, Golduck, Wobbuffet, Xatu, Girafarig, Donphan, which is being added to the route west of Mauville, Pinsir, Heracross, Rhydon, Lantern, Corsola, and Kingdra. Next up, and very importantly, we've got Cast Form. We've given it +5 in all 3 defensive stats, 15 in special attack, and 20 in speed. The biggest thing here is the speed, which the goal was to make it so that it can reliably get its weather up first. We've also raised Weather Ball's PP all the way to 30 so that you can actually consistently use it with all 3 of the weather moves that it now learns and just comes with. Maybe it always came with them, I don't know. But the point is, Cast Form feels really good now. I used it and it was a ton of fun. Now, Glalie is an interesting Pokemon because it had a similar sort of stat distribution to Cast Form, just like a perfectly flat spread. Unlike Cast Form though, I wanted to try to keep this sort of feel going, and so rather than min-maxing, we just gave this Pokemon a flat 5 to every stat. This takes it from 480 base to 510, and it will coincide with its evolution, dropping from 42 down to 36. The Walrein line has always been great, so all it will see are learn stat changes. Huntail will gain 10 attack and lose 10 special with another nice learn set rework, and Gorbis actually has a pretty decent stat spread, so we've just updated its learn sets. These 2 Pokemon will now evolve by simply having their trade Evo item used on them, similar to the evolution stones. Now, my boy Relicanth. This is like one of the very last water Pokemon you can catch in the game, and it needs a niche. We've given it 20 attack, bringing it up to 110, which when combined with its swift swim ability and respectable bulk, should make a decent niche for it in the realm of water types as like a physical rock attacker. It was tough to do a lot for this guy, but we're hoping he now can do something. Now, as for the game's main pseudo, Salamence' only big change is having Bagon added to the lower portion of Meteor Falls. As for, ladies and gentlemen, the most insane buff to any Pokemon in the history of Pokemon Legacy, Beldum, the first form of Metagross, can now be acquired before the post-game. Available in Granite Cave with the lowest catch rate in the game. Good luck catching one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the legendary updated learn sets are going to flash across the screen, here's how you can enter the giveaway. To enter one of 10 physical copies of Pokemon Emerald Legacy, all you have to do is subscribe and then comment down below one Pokemon that you think needs a little more love or actually a little bit of a pullback. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll select someone once this ROM hack is released. That's it for me. Peace.